All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Um, just let me know in the chat if you all are hearing me clearly, please. All right. So great. You all are hearing me. All right. So what I'm gonna be doing today, I'm going to be going through some multiple choice questions that you may encounter in the July 2020 exam. All right. But I just have a little intro first because I realize a lot of people out there, um, they don't realize that I give classes as well. All right. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Terry David. Right. I am a past national scholarship winner in Trinidad. Right, for science. Right. I attained a top place in A-level chemistry, right? Back then we did Cambridge exams, right? I know right now you all do CAPE, right? At the time when I did A-level chemistry, there was nothing in A-level chemistry that I did not know, right? Unfortunately, I don't give CAPE chemistry lessons, so let me let you all know up front, right? I have a bachelor's degree in electrical and computer engineering. I also have a degree in management studies, right? And I also have a master's in business administration, right? Also, I am the official author, right, of the CAPE Physics Unit 1 and Unit 2, right? I am the sole author of both of those books, right? So you may see other names on the books, but I am the sole author of all the content in that book, right? The other names that you see on the book, they provided material for the CD, right? But the entire content of the book was written by me, right? I also have some other books out there as well, which is a multiple choice maths exam for CSEC Maths, a workbook for CSEC Maths, as well as a CSEC Physics workbook as well, right? Um, so for those of you who don't know as well, right, I have 3 popular channels on YouTube, right? So some of you may have subscribed to my channel on YouTube. So if you do a search on YouTube for CSEC Maths, you can find me there, right? I have just over 12,800 subscribers, and I have close to 1.5 million views on my CSEC Maths channel, right? I didn't provide any videos for about a year because I was doing my master's at the time, right? So I did pause for a while on the maths videos, right? In the case of the CSEC chemistry channel, that's been around a while as well. I just have about close to 5,000 subscribers and about 261,000 views, right? I also have a CSEC physics channel as well, right? This one is relatively new, so it does not have as much videos as there are in the maths and chemistry, right? So we'll get to the multiple choice just now. I just need to go through this material first. Right, so some students were asking, yes, I do give classes, right? I give classes in chemistry, physics, and maths, right? This is my current class schedule, right? So I have a Form 4 class that is held online every Tuesday from 5 to 7 p.m. I have Form 5 classes for maths, chemistry, and physics. And this is for students who are writing exams this year, right? So Form 5 maths is every Tuesday from 5 to 7 p.m. Physics is on a Saturday morning, and chemistry is also on a Saturday, right? With respect to these subjects, we are currently doing multiple choice exams. We've finished the syllabus in all instances, right? So right now, I believe most of them are ready to write the exam, okay? In the case of new classes, I will be starting my new classes in August. All my classes will not be in a physical classroom anymore. All classes will be online from now on, right? If you want to know what I use, I stream directly to YouTube, right? So in the case, so this will be my schedule moving forward, right? So from August, September, I will only have a Form 5 maths class, and I will be taking in new students for Form 4 maths, chemistry, and physics, right? These are the days I will be doing that. And this is my contact information if you need to, right? You can either call me or send me a WhatsApp, right? Or some people actually send me an email, right? Now, let's see, what did I have after? Right. So, students who are in my class, they get access to my learning management platform, right? You see how the Ministry of Education in Trinidad, they are busy trying to have something online. I've been online for a few years now, actually, right? This is my website here, but it's a secured website, so only students who are in my class get access to my website, right? Once you get access to the website, basically you get the material that we use in class, right? So I have notes on various topics. So this is just a snip from vectors in the case of CSEC Maths, right? So these are PDF files where you get access to all these things. And also, you get access, every single thing that we do in class, you get to practice it online. We have exams for every topic that we do in class, right? So in the case of maths, the current Form 5 class, they have been doing multiple choice exams for me, right? So right now they are on exam number 8, right? All these exams are identical to what you will, or how the exam is going to be in July for CSEC, right? So I've been doing e-testing for a while now, right? A few years now, actually, right? So the students who are in my current maths class, they already have a good idea of how the exam is going to be. It's going to be timed, right? All these exams are automatically corrected, okay? So enough about that, right? So these are questions that I have created, right? So obviously I cannot post actual CSEC multiple choice exam questions here, right? But what I can do, I can give you questions of a similar type, or what you are expected to know, right? So let's begin. Let's begin with question 1. So question 1. I've given you a function, f of x is equal to 3x squared minus 2, and I want to find what is f of minus 2, right? So before I work the question, can somebody give me an idea or what they think for this question? Right, so the function is f of x is equal to 3x squared minus 2, and I want to find f of minus 2. Any ideas? Right, so substitute minus 2 into f of x. So what's the answer? Which one of those is the answer? Also, please, if you are watching live on the YouTube channel, please click like and subscribe for me, please. You can also share the link to the channel, right, to your friends, right? Essentially, everything on the YouTube channel is free. Okay, so I've seen everybody saying yes, plug minus 2, but I still want to know what the answer is. Is it A, is it B, is it C? What's the answer? Alright, so somebody, okay, so I'm getting something from somebody now. So they're saying B is the answer. Let's check this out. So this is what you need to do. So f of x is equal to 3x squared minus 2, right? So we want to find f of minus 2. In order to find f of minus 2, all we are going to do is substitute the minus 2 into the function. So this is going to be 3 multiplied by minus 2 squared minus 2, right? So we're going to leave this 3 here. Minus 2 squared gives me positive 4 minus 2. So this is 3 4s at 12 minus 2, and this gives me 10. Right? So the answer for the first one here is 10. So therefore the answer is B. So that is correct. Let's see. Hoping you all see in the full picture here. Alright, so in question 2, right, we have a diagram here. We have a diagram of a straight line, right? And the line PQ cuts the y-axis at, so the question is asking, the line PQ cuts the y-axis where, right? So we have a line PQ, where does it cut the y-axis? Let me just scroll along here a little bit. Yeah, so looking at the graph, where does the line PQ cut the y-axis? So what is the answer for this one? It's question 2. Alright, so I'm seeing people saying B as the answer. So when they ask you where it cuts the y-axis, right? They're asking about the y-axis here. My y-axis is the vertical line. This vertical line here is my y-axis, right? And this here is the line PQ. So we are concerned about this point here. So the coordinates of that point will be 0, minus 5, right? So the coordinates of that point is 0, minus 5. So the answer has to be B, right? So make sure you know how to identify where, or what is called the y-intercept, right? Let's move on to the next question. So the third question here, we have a straight line, right? It has a gradient of 5. So the gradient of the straight line is 5, and it passes through the point 0, 4. And the question is asking, what is the equation of this line? So what's the answer for question 3? Alright, so I'm seeing somebody saying C. Alright, so you need to remember that the equation of a straight line is given in the form y equal mx plus c, right? That's the equation of the general equation for a straight line, where m is my gradient, so m is my gradient, and c is what we call my y-intercept, right? So in this case, they've told us what the gradient is. The gradient is 5. And the y-intercept is always given as 0 something, right? So therefore, the equation of this line is going to be y is equal to 5, because the gradient is 5, plus 5x plus 4. So yes, the answer is C for question 3. All right? What is the answer for question 4? In question 4, a function is defined as follows, right? So you're going to read this as f is such that x maps onto 2x cubed, right? So f is such that x maps onto 2x cubed, right? And this here is my domain of the function, right? Which of the following represents the range of this function? What's the answer for question 4? All right, so I'm saying Joshua saying B. So let's look at this. So this is my domain, right? This is my domain, right? And we know what the function is. The function is 2x cubed. So what you're going to do, you're going to have to drop a little table, right? So x goes from minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, and 2. And what we need to do, we need to work out what is f of x for each of those instances. And we know that f of x is 2x cubed, right? So what you're going to do, you're going to substitute these values into the function, right? So this is going to be 2 multiplied by minus 2 cube, right? Now minus 2 cube is the same as saying minus 2 multiplied by minus 2 multiplied by minus 2, which is going to give me 2 2s are 4 2s are 8. So it's going to give me minus 8 multiplied by 2 will give me minus 16. Then you're going to substitute minus 1 now. So minus 1 cube. So minus 1 by minus 1 by minus 1, that gives me minus 1. And minus 1 multiplied by 2 gives me minus 2, right? Then we're going to substitute 0. So 2 by 0 cube, right? 0 cube is 0. And 0 multiplied by 2 is going to give me 0. Then we're going to substitute 1. So 1 cube. 1 cube is 1. 1 by 2 gives me 2. And then 2 multiplied by 2 cube. So 2 cube is 8. 8 2s are 16. So what I'm concerned about here now are these values. This here will be my range, right? So we're going minus 16, minus 2, 0, 2, and 16. So the answer in this case here is B. Right? So Joshua, yes, that's correct. The answer is B. This one here is question 5, right? So in this question, we have a function here, f of x, and it's defined by minus x squared plus 6x minus 5. And the question is asking the value of x for which f of x is equal to 0. So this is question 5. What do you all think is the answer for question 5? All right, so I've seen Joshua saying A. Let's see. It's looking right to me. Now, you all need to understand the terminology, right? So if we say f of x Yeah, if we say f of x is equal to 0, we need to understand what that means, right? Now, what that really means is that where does the graph cut my x-axis, right? So this is asking me, where does the graph cut the x-axis? Right? That's what it's asking. Where does the graph cut the x-axis? Now my x-axis is also the line y equal to 0, right? You all need to know that as well, right? Now, sorry about the black boxes there, right? I typically don't use Microsoft Word as my writing medium, so I'm not sure why I'm getting these black boxes for some reason. 1 second. Alright, so the curve cuts the x-axis at this point here, which is 1, and it cuts here at 5. So therefore, the answer is A, right? So the values of x for which f of x equal to 0 are x equal 1 and x is equal to 5, right? Now this one here is question 6, right? Question 6 is right. So question 6, what are the coordinates of the maximum point? All right. So the question is asking, what are the coordinates of the maximum point? So question 6. I see Joshua asking something here. Now this is question 6 you're talking about, Joshua, right? They want us to know what is the coordinates of the maximum point. Now your maximum point is the peak of this particular graph, right? In this particular graph, it's a quadratic, right? And it has a maximum point. So all you need to do for this particular question, we need to look at the highest point of the graph. So the highest point on the graph is actually this point here, right? And you just need to, 1 second. Yeah, so all we need to do, we need to read off that that coordinate here, right? So we need to read off the x value, or the x coordinate, and the y coordinate. So if we read that off here, we're gonna get 3, 4. So therefore the answer is actually B as my maximum point, right? So the answer is B. Oh, just now, so Joshua is saying when f of x, let me just check that question back here. Hold on. So she's talking about, oh, no, Joshua, for this particular one, when we say when f of x equal to 0, what you're doing, you're finding where does the graph cut the x-axis. You're not substituting 0 into the equation. That's not what you're doing for number 5, right? What the question is asking there, it's really asking for the roots of the equation, or it's asking where does the quadratic cut my x-axis. I know what you're doing. You are trying to find f of 0, which is something that is different. That's not what the question is asking. All right. So let's look at question 7. So in question 7, we have a function which is given by x squared minus 4x. And the question is, what are the coordinates of the turning point of f of x? What is the answer for question 7? Question is asking what are the coordinates of the turning point of f of x. Alright, so I'm seeing some D's coming in here. Let's see. Right, so in this question, I want you to be able to know what the word turning point means, right? So turning point, when we're talking about a quadratic, a turning point could be a maximum point or a minimum point. So for those of you who are doing add maths, you're going to encounter this term a lot, something called a turning point, right? At a turning point, the gradient of your graph is equal to 0. And that happens at a maximum point, a minimum point, or something called a point of inflection, right? But for CSEC Maths, you just need to know a maximum point or a minimum point. So they want to know the turning point. So in this case, this graph or this function has a minimum point. So because it has a minimum point, right, this here is my minimum point. So this minimum point will have an x coordinate and a y coordinate. So therefore this coordinate here will be 2 minus 4, right? So therefore the answer has to be D, right? So the answer is D for this one. That's the coordinate of the minimum point. We always write the x value first, followed by the y value, all right? So this is question 7. This one here is question 8. So in question 8, I'm asking, we have the same function as before, right? What are the roots of f of x? What are the roots of f of x? So this is question 8. Alright, so I'm seeing Joshua saying D. Let's see. Alright, so I gave this question here because you all need to understand what is meant by the roots of an equation, right? So we're talking about the roots of f of x. That is the same as the previous question we did. What the question is asking, what are your values of x for which f of x equal to 0? This is just another way of writing or asking that same question, right? So you need to know that terminology for the exam. Eh? So what are the roots of f of x? The question is really asking, what are the values of x for which f of x is equal to 0? So, like in the previous question, we want to know where does that graph cut my x-axis. So it cuts the x-axis at this point here, right? That's x equals 0. And it also cuts the x-axis as at this point here. So at 0 and 4. So we're looking for the answers that tell me x equals 0 and x is equal to 4. So the answer is D in this particular case. All right. NNR Tech, yes, please press like on the videos. You can share it freely. So every time I go live, you will automatically see when the videos are going live, right? That's now, where are we now? So that is number 8. So this is question 9. Let's see what you all do for this one. So we have a function here, right? This function again is f of x equal x squared minus 4, right? What are the values of x for which f of x is equal to minus 3? So they want to know what are the values of x for which f of x is equal to minus 3. Now let me see if any of you all can get this one, right? So question 9. All right, I'm seeing Joshua is saying C. Let's see what's going on here. All right, now you all need to understand when they give you a question like this, what are they asking me, right? Now, f of x is equal to minus 3. You want to know the values of x when that happens, right? So far you've seen a question where we said f of x is equal to 0, right? F of x is equal to 0 was my x-axis, right? My x-axis is also known as the line y equal to 0, right? So if you want to know what is the answer for this, you need to understand that the question is asking what part of your quadratic, or where does your quadratic intersect the line y is equal to minus 3. That's what the question is asking, right? Now the line y is equal to minus 3 is a horizontal line. That's something you need to know. When you have a line y is equal to k, right? Just a number, a constant, it's going to be a horizontal line. So y is equal to minus 3 is going to be this line here. This is where y equal minus 3 is. So if I draw a line going this way, this here is the line y is equal to minus 3, right? So now we need to look. We need to say, okay, where does that line intersect my curve? It intersects at this point here and this point here. This point corresponds to 1 and this point here corresponds to 3. So the answer is going to be 1 and 3, which is C. All right, so the answer is C for this one. All right, so I saw some of y'all got that. Good. What else? So this is number 9. What about question 10? All right, we have question 10 here. We have f of x is equal to x squared minus 5x plus 2, and you want to find f of minus 3. So question 10, what's the answer for question 10? Joshua saying 26. All right, so this is similar to the first question we did, right? So the first thing you do, you need to write down what the function is. So the function in this case here is f of x equal to x squared minus 5x plus 2, right? That's my function. And I want to find f of minus 3. So all I'm doing is substituting minus 3 into that function. So it's minus 3 squared minus 5 multiplied by minus 3 plus 2, right? Minus 3 squared gives me 9, that's positive 9. And then 5 by minus 3, or we can say minus 5 by minus 3, that gives me plus 15 plus 2, right? So 9 plus 15 plus 2, that gives me a total of 26. So the answer is C for question 10. All right? Yes, so the answer is C for question 10. What about question 11? So I've seen some B's. So right? So I've seen somebody saying B, somebody saying E, right? So let's have a look at that. All right, so I'm seeing two A's and a B here. Let's see what's going on here. All right, so the question is asking which of the following pairs of lines are parallel, right? So things you need to remember. You need to know that, get back to the question, right? So two things you need to know. You need to know that the general form of any line is y equal mx plus c. Y equal mx plus c, right? So all equations, all straight lines are written in the form y equal mx plus c, where m is the gradient and c is my y-intercept, right? Now, we're talking about parallel lines. Parallel lines, you all need to know that they have the same gradient. So when you're looking at two different lines, for them to be parallel, they must have the same gradient. So let's look at part A. So in part A, we have y equal 2x minus 3. So therefore, the gradient of this first line here is minus 2. Is 2. And the gradient of this second line here is minus 2. So let me see if I can write this here for you all. So the first one is y equal 2x minus 3. So the gradient of that line, because it's already written in the format y equal mx plus c, the gradient is 2. The second line there is y equal 3 minus 2x, right? Now there's a reason why I wrote it like this. You all need to realize that the gradient here is minus 2. So those two gradients are different. So therefore A is obviously wrong, all right? Those two lines are not parallel. Did anybody put A? Oh yeah, so some A's there, right? Let's look at the second one. So in the second one, we have y equal 2x plus 1. That's B we're looking at here. So y is equal to 2x plus 1. And the other equation is y equal 3 plus 2x, right? So if we look at those equations here, we realize that the gradient of this first one here is 2, and the gradient of this one here is also 2, right? So therefore, B looks like the answer. But I have a funny feeling this now. Make sure. Yeah. If we look at part C, right? Look at what's going on in part C. Part C, we have 2y is equal to 4x minus 1, right? In order to figure out the gradient of that line, we need to get rid of this 2 here. This 2 needs to disappear. In order to do that, we divide everything by 2. So you will end up with y is equal to 4 divided by 2 gives me 2x minus a half, right? This is C we're looking at here. That's this one we're looking at. So the gradient in this case here is 2, right? The other equation is y equal x plus 1. Y equal x plus 1. In this case here, the number in front of the x is 1. So therefore, this is also wrong. Those two gradients are different, right? In part D, you realize that if we move this x here, you'll end up with minus x. And on this side, you'll have plus x. So the answer in this case is B, right? Anytime they give you a question where the equation is not written in the form y equal mx plus c, you need to write it in that format before you can answer the question, right? So please remember that. I've seen some students, they just look at the equation as it's given and they say, okay, the number in front of the x, that's my gradient. But that's wrong. You need to write it in the form y equal mx plus c, all right? So let's look at the next one, question 12. That's this one. What is the answer for question 12? So question 12, right? Again, the same principles applying here, but in this case, you need to know what is meant by perpendicular lines, right? All right, let me just recap your memory, right? So if we have a line here, right? A perpendicular line is a line like this. They intersect or they cross at right angles, right? So if the gradient of one line is, let's say, m1, and the gradient of the second line, as this one here, is, let's say, m2. For those two lines to be perpendicular, if I multiply their gradients, m1 multiplied by m2, I'm going to get minus 1, right? That's something you all need to know for the exam. So when we have perpendicular lines, if we multiply the gradient of each of the two lines, we must get minus 1, right? That's why they're perpendicular. So anybody for question 12? All right, I'm seeing Joshua given an answer there, but which answer is it? Is it A, B, C, or D? All right, so let's look at it. So in the first, let's look at A, right? The gradient of this first line in A here is 2. The gradient of the second line is minus 2. If I multiply 2 by minus 2, I'm going to get minus 4, right? So this is wrong. They are not perpendicular, so A is wrong for sure. Then let's look at the second one. We have 2x here, and we have 2x here. So those two gradients are the same. So therefore, these two lines are what we call parallel lines because they have the same gradient, right? So in part B, those two lines are parallel because they both have a gradient of 2. Let's look at part C now. Now, if you look at part C, this first equation is not written in the correct format as yet. So you have 2y is equal to 4x minus 1. So we need to get rid of this 2 here. So this becomes y equal 2x minus a half, right? And in the second equation, the gradient here is 1, right? So this gradient is 2 and this gradient is 1. So 2 by 1, that gives me 2. So they're not parallel, nor are they perpendicular. So hopefully the last answer is correct. So in the last part, this part D we're looking at here now. We have 2y plus x is equal to 2. So therefore 2y is equal to minus x plus 2. So therefore y is equal to, we're dividing everything by 2. So this becomes minus a half x, so there's a minus here, plus 1, right? So I'm rearranging this formula here, and this is what I'm getting. So my gradient of that particular line is minus a half. In this particular one here, the gradient here is 2. So therefore, minus a half multiplied by 2, right? This 2 will cancel with this, and I will get minus 1. So since I've multiplied the two gradients and I got minus 1, it means that these two lines are perpendicular. Right? So this is something you all need to know. When you multiply the gradients for two perpendicular lines, you get minus 1. So the answer is D. Right? So this is question 12. let's move on. All right, so we have question 13 here. So in question 13, which of the following points lie on the line y equal 4x plus 1? What is the answer for question 13? So which of the following points lie on the line y equal 4x plus 1? Anybody? All right. Anybody answer? Question 13. I'm not seeing any answers. Nobody want to try? Make a guess at least, no? So the following points lie on the line y equal 4x plus 1. Question is a bit straightforward when you see how I work it, right? So Anjali is saying number 13 is A. Let's see. I think you might be right. All right, so we have an equation here, y equal 4x plus 1. Now how you do this question, what you would do is substitute the points into this equation to see if it's true, right? But there's an even easier way. So this one here is my y-intercept, right? So this is my y-intercept, right? So if this is my y-intercept, right, the coordinates of my y-intercept will be 0, 1. My y-intercept is always 0 something, right? So if you look at the first point here, you realize the first point is 0, 1. So without even working out anything else, we know the answer is E, right? So question 13, the answer is E. But what if they didn't give us the 0, 1 as a coordinate? What you should do, so like we have to test the points. So let's say you have the point 2, 8, and you know the equation is y equal 4x plus 1. We're going to test it. This is an x coordinate and this is a y coordinate, right? So therefore we're going to put 8 here. We're going to put 4 by 2. Oh, there's a 1 here. Plus 1, right? So therefore 8 is equal to 4 2s are 8 and 1, 9. But 8 is not equal to 9. So what that tells me is that this point does not lie on my straight line. That's what that is telling me. You do the same thing for all the other points. You substitute. If the two numbers here on the left hand side and the right hand side are the same, then that point lies on that straight line, right? So the answer is A for question 13. What about question 14? Which of the following set of ordered pairs represents the following? So you have a function. So this is a function here. Yeah, one second. So you have a function here, and the function is x squared minus 5, and x is a member of 0, 1, 2, and 3. So they want to know the set of ordered pairs for that function. So question 14. Right, I think was the May 2019 paper, I believe. I think it was the May 2019 paper. Some students, they got stumped because they didn't know what a set of ordered pairs were. All right. So question 14. Let me hear what you all think before I work it. All right, I'll give you 2 minutes to work it out. So you have the function here. The function is f of x is equal to x squared minus 5, right? And we are saying that x is a member of 0, 1, 2, and 3. So therefore, x can take on values 0, 1, 2, and 3, right? And what we need to work out, what is f of x for each of those values here. So what you're going to do is substituting the x values into the function, right? All right, so I'm seeing Nelia and Anjali saying A. So let's work it out. So it's x squared minus 5. So it's 0 squared minus 5. So 0 squared is 0. 0 minus 5 gives me minus 5. The next one is 1 squared minus 5. 1 squared is 1. 1 minus 5 is minus 4. Then we're going to substitute 2. So 2 squared minus 5. So 2 2s are 4. 4 minus 5 is minus 1. And then the last one, we're going to substitute 3 into the equation. So 3 squared gives me 9. 9 minus 5 gives me 4. All right. Now all you're going to do now, you're going to take 0 and minus 5 and write it as a coordinate, or write it as like this. So 0 minus 5, the next value is 1 minus 4. So look at it, the next value is 1 minus 4. The next value is 2 minus 1. So look here, this is 2 minus 1. And the last one is 3, 4, which is this. So therefore, you all are correct. The answer is E, right? And because we are writing it as a set, right? That's why we're using the curly brackets, right? So you're seeing a starting curly bracket and an ending curly bracket. So that is how we write a set of ordered pairs, right? So the 0 is part of the domain, and the 5 minus 5 is part of the range. Okay? So the answer for number 14 is E. Let's look at question 15 now. So question 15, which of the following graphs represent, so I've given you an inequality and we're trying to represent that inequality on a number line, right? So question 15. come on you all. We want to represent this inequality on a number line. So I'm seeing somebody, all right, so Masha, Gary, you all are saying C. Now, when you have an inequality, right, and okay, so a set of people coming in with C right now. So if you have an inequality, right, in this case here, the inequality is X is such that we're moving from -3. So this is the inequality that we want to represent, right? So these are my boundary values we're interested in. We're interested in -3 and 5. So if you notice, you have two options when you are representing these things on a number line. Either we're using a circle that is unshaded, or we're using a circle that is shaded, right? So we use, if we have less than or we have greater than, we're going to use a circle that is unshaded. But if you have less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, you must put a circle that is shaded. So look at something here. In the inequality you have, this is how you're reading it, okay? So X is greater than or equal to -3. That's how you're reading it. So therefore, because you have X is greater than or equal to, it has to be a circle that is shaded on the tree. So if you look at this one here, we have a circle that is shaded on this -3 here. On the right hand side here now, we have X is less than 5, right? But it's less than, it's not less than or equal to. So if it's less than, it has to be a circle that is unshaded, right? So in this particular case here, the answer has to be C, right? So the answer is C for this. All right, so I see in Rochelle saying, what year is this? This is not a particular year. These are questions that I have created that is similar to what you are expected to get, right? I cannot post actual examinations questions here. I do that in my class only, right? I can't put it in the public domain. All right, so the answer is C for question 15. Let's move on. So question 16. One second, let me just reduce the size of this here because you won't be able to see. Alright, so this question here, make sure you all see the whole thing. Right. So the question is asking which of the following does not represent a function. So which of the following does not represent a function? I may have to reduce the size a little more. Alright, so you should be able to answer it here, right? Alright, so Joshua is saying she now knowing about the shaded and unshaded circle, right? So I'm glad you hopefully understand now what we have to do for that particular question. So in question 16, they said which of the following does not, right? Look at these questions carefully, represent the graph of a function. Number 16, anybody? So the question is, which of the following does not represent a function? All right, I see in some different answers here. Anybody else? All right, so I'm seeing some answers coming in here. Good. So if you are given a graph and you want to know if it is a function, you do something called a vertical line test, right? So some of you all might be like, so we never heard that before, we don't know what that is, right? To test if something is a function, you do what is called a vertical line test. So let me show you how we do this. Oh, by the way, this is similar to an examination question that came previously, okay? So let me use a different color here. So what you do, you're going to draw a vertical line, right? Let's look at E. You're going to draw a vertical line. You realize it only intersects at one point. If I draw a vertical line here, it intersects at one point. Draw a vertical line, intersects at one point. The fact that when you draw that vertical line, it only intersects at one point tells me that it is a function, right? If I draw a vertical line here, it intersects at one point, that's a function. If I draw a line here, intersects at one point, still a function. Here, 1 point, still a function. Here, 1 point, still a function, right? So in part A, that function is a straight line. In part B, that function is a quadratic curve. Now let's look at part C. If I draw a vertical line here, it intersects at 1 point. Draw a vertical line here, intersects at 1 point. Draw a line here, intersects at 1 point. Draw a line here, intersects at 1 point. So C is a function, right? Look at what happens with D though. When I draw a vertical line here, it is intersecting at this point and this point. If I draw a vertical line here, it's intersecting at this point and this point. It is intersecting at 2 points. Therefore, that graph is not a function. So the answer is actually D. D is not a function, right? So in this particular one here, part C, I saw somebody ask about an inflection, right? Yes, C is a cubic function, right? But C is a function, right? If I draw a vertical line, it only intersects at 1 point. Whereas in D, when you draw that vertical line, it intersects at more than 1 point. Now, in the exam, I've seen several questions like this in the exam, right? It could be any graph. I gave you actual graphs here, right? But they could just put some points and tell you, hey, is this a function, right? So I've seen questions where, let's see here. I've seen questions where they did a graph like this. The graph looked like this, and they just put some x's. They didn't even draw the graph for you. They put an x here, they put an x here, put an x here. And they come and they ask, is that a function? Right? That is not a function. Because if I draw a vertical line here, it's going to intersect at this point and this point. So please be careful when you are doing this particular question. So to know if something is a function, we do a vertical line test. If we draw that line and we get an intersection at 1 point, then it's a function. All right? Yeah, Shirish, never learned or heard about inflection, and right. So that inflection point, that is something that we do in Add Maths, right? That's, you don't have to know that for CSEC Maths, right? There's something called turning points. A maximum point on a quadratic is a turning point. A minimum point on a quadratic is a turning point. And there's also another point where we call, or what we call, a point of inflection, right? Yeah, so Joshua saying that, right? That's Add Maths. That's not, you don't need to know that for maths, right? All right, so this is question 16. All right, my intention was this session was supposed to be an hour. So just now, I have a few more questions on this paper, don't worry. All right, so question 17. So you have an arrow diagram here, and it represents a function f, right? Oh wait, I didn't ask the question. So that's a question there, right? So we have an arrow diagram, and the question is asking which of the following represents the function, right? So this is question 17. So question 17. Anybody? So which of the following represents the function there, right? So we have a, y equal x plus 2, b, y equal 2x plus 1. All right, so I think Kyle saying b, 2x plus 1. So if you get an exam question like this, what you're going to have to do, you're going to have to check each of these functions to see which one it'll work with, right? So you know that when x equal 2, y equal 5, right? So let me see. What is Kyle saying? Kyle is saying B. Gary is also saying B. So let's test B. So if we use y equal 2x plus 1, right? Let's substitute. When x equal 2, let's work out what y is. Y will be equal to 2 by 2 plus 1, which is 4 plus 1, which is 5, right? When x equal 3, according to this function here, y should be equal to 7. So y is equal to 2 by 3 plus 1, which is 6 plus 1, which is 7, right? So far it's working, right? Let's put x equal 4. Y equal to 2 by 4 plus 1. 4 2s are 8 and 1 9, right? So 4 corresponds to 9, right? So the answer is B. Yes, you all are correct. What about question 18? What about question 18? What is the gradient of the line 2y plus x is equal to 4? Come on, somebody must know question 18. We have an equation 2y plus x equals 4. What is the gradient of that line? I know some people from my class are here, so you should know this. So my equation is 2y plus x equal 4. Question is asking what is the gradient of that line? Nobody? All right, somebody saying E. Let's see. All right, so the first thing we need to do, we need to write this equation in the form y equal mx plus c. Can't do anything unless it's written in this format, right? So if I write this, it's going to be 2y is equal to, I'm going to take the x and carry it across on the right hand side. So it's going to become minus x plus 4. There's a reason why I wrote it like this and not write it as 4 minus x, because I want the equation to look like this, right? You want the equation to look like this. Next thing we need to do, we need to get rid of this 2 here. In order to get rid of that 2, we need to divide everything by 2. So minus x over 2 plus 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. Now, I can write this as minus a half multiplied by x. Hold on one second. I don't know what's going on here. All right. Yeah, so minus a half x plus 2, right? And therefore, my gradient should be minus a half. All right? So the answer for this one here has to be C. Okay? So this is one way they can ask the question in the exam. They could give you an equation. Wow, I'm not looking at the answers. Some of you are saying A, some of you are saying D. Right? So make sure you understand what I did there. What I did, I tried to write the equation in this format. You must write it in that format before you can answer the question. Okay? Another way they can ask the question about gradient is in question 19 here. They will give you a graph and they can ask you, well, what is the gradient? From that graph, what is the gradient? So question 19. Right, Joshel. Yes, you need to carry it across because remember the equation has to be in the format y equal mx plus c. So when you carry it across, it's going to become minus a half. All right, question 19. I'm seeing Sharice is saying A, Tyra is saying C. So for question 19, you have two ways you can work this question. You all need to know the formula to find the gradient of a line. Gradient is m, and the formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Right? This is one way you can work it out. Right? What you need to do, you need to choose 2 points on your line. So I would choose 2 coordinates that I could read off clearly. So I'll choose this point here, which is 1, 3. And I'll probably choose this point here, which is minus 1, minus 1, right? I will choose those 2 points. Now, one second, I need to scroll along this page a little bit. I realize you're not seeing. Yeah. Now, before you can use the formula, what you all need to do, you all need to label what is x1. So this is x1, y1, and x2, y2. You can label it however you want, just be consistent in your labeling. So therefore, my gradient in this case here will be y2, which is minus 1. So minus 1 minus y1, which in this case is 3, divided by x2 minus x1, which is minus 1 minus 1. Minus 1 minus 3 gives me minus 4, divided by minus 1 gives me minus 2, which is minus 4 divided by minus 2. We get 2 as my gradient. So the answer has to be C. Right? So there's something that you all need to know. You need to know the formula to find the gradient of a line. So that's question 19. So question 20, which is this one here. I've given you a function f of x equal 4 minus 3x squared. What is f of minus 2? All right, let me see what you all put. Tyra saying she's not seeing the question. What you may have to do, you may have to refresh the page. All right, if you're not seeing it. Let me just write it a little bigger. So we have f of x is equal to 4 minus 3x squared. And you want to find f of minus 2. So this is 4 minus 3 multiplied by minus 2 squared. So this is equal to 4 minus 2 squared gives me 4. So therefore it's 4 minus 12. 4 minus 12, which gives me minus 8. Right? So the answer is C. All right. What about question 21 now? So we want to represent an, they give us a diagram, right? And they want to know what does the diagram represent, right? Forget about this dot here, right? This might confuse you a little bit. So the line graph represents which inequality? Question 21. Wow, seeing different answers here. A, B, and C. All right, so we're looking at the number line, right? So we notice that we have a circle here at the 4, right? So obviously all the answers have 4 in them. But if you look here carefully, you have a circle by the 4 that is not shaded. So if it's not shaded, we know that this can be an answer and this can be an answer. Then we need to look and see what the arrow is showing us. The arrow is showing us it's pointing to the left. So this inequality is actually saying x is less than 4, right? So the answer has to be C, x is less than 4. Question 22. Let me write this a little bigger in case you're not seeing it. So in question 22, this is what we have. We have a function p of x is equal to 3x minus 5 over 2. And the question wants to find what is p of minus 2. All right. So question 22. Anybody? Alright, let me see, I've seen some answers already. So I'm seeing A. Let's see if we can work that quickly. So all we're doing is substituting here, right? So it's 3 multiplied by minus 2, minus 5 over 2. 3 multiplied by minus 2 is minus 6. Minus 5 over 2. Minus 6 minus 5 is minus 11. So this is minus 11 over 2, right? So the answer has to be A, minus 11 over 2. Right? All we're doing is substituting. That's all we're doing, right? So Gary and Tyra, all we're doing is substituting. That's all we're doing. What about question 23? All right, so I see Tyra corrected herself. So question 23. What's the answer for this one here? Which of the following, move it on a little bit. Which of the following represents the equation of a straight line? Which of the following represents the equation of a straight line? Question 23 we're talking about, eh? Alright, don't mix up the questions. This is question 23. Which of the following represents the equation of a straight line? See, almost everybody saying E, but A is wrong. Anybody want to change your answer? The first equation is y equal x squared minus 9. This first one here is a quadratic. Sorry, yeah, this one here. This is a quadratic. Yeah, so this first one here is a quadratic. The second one, y squared equal to x, right? That is a graph that looks like this, right? The answer is C for this particular one. 2y plus 3x equal 4. That is a straight line. So the answer is C for question 23. Right? Because look at this equation. 2y plus 3x equal 4. You can write that as 2y is equal to minus 3x plus 4. Therefore, we can say y is equal to minus 3 over 2x plus 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. So this equation here is actually the equation of a straight line, right? And question 24 can answer it already. Which of the following is a quadratic? So when they ask you about a quadratic, what you're looking for, just make sure the equation has an x squared term in it, right? It must have an x squared term in it. So the answer has to be A for this one, right? I saw somebody answer it already. And let's look at this last one here. So question 25, we have a function here, right? Minus x squared plus 6x minus 5. And the question is asking the values of x for which f of x is less than or equal to 0. Now, so students who are in my class, like Sharice and somebody else, I want to get an answer for this one here. Question 25. What is the answer for question 25? We did this just yesterday in class. All right, so I'm seeing Lloyd, Tyra, people saying C. Let me show you how you answer this question. So first thing you need to understand is, what is the question asking? The question is asking the value or values of x for which f of x is less than 0. What this is asking here is, what part of my graph is below the x-axis? Right? That's what that question is asking. What part of your graph is below the x-axis? Now remember where the x-axis is. This is my x-axis here. So this part of the graph is below my x-axis. This part of the graph is below my x-axis. So therefore, anything that is greater than 5 and anything that is less than 1 is the answer we're looking for, right? So let's see. So we're looking for a solution that says x is less than 1 and a solution that says x is greater than 5, right? Or we have to use the equal sign because that's what we have here. All right, so x is less than 1. So the answer is E for this particular question, right? So the answer is E. Wow, well, nobody had that, right? But you always saying C. Why were you all saying C? If the question had asked this, f of x greater than or equal to 0, then the answer would be C, right? So if they had asked the values of x for which f of x is greater than or equal to 0, then the answer will be C. Not C, sorry. The answer will be B. The answer will be B. All right. So I hope you all kind of understand what we did there, right? So this is just a sample of some of the questions that can come on relations and functions, all right? So whenever I get a chance, I will be doing another video, right? So keep on the lookout for it. All you need to do, just like the channel and the Maths channel on YouTube and subscribe, and please forward it to other people as well, right? So this is it for today, right? So this was a shortish session, right? An hour and a half, right? I hope you all at least learned something new today, all right? So hopefully I see you guys soon, all right? So you guys take care. Yeah, Rochelle, yeah, that's an hour and a half already, right? So just look out, and I will do more. Don't worry, between now and the exam. All right. So you guys take care and be safe.